So as AJ said, this today is about the World Against Racism Day. So there are 20 demonstrations happening worldwide, as well as here in Cardiff, London and Glasgow. It is to mark the UN Day Against Racism, but moreover, it's about governments continuing attempt to push the hostile environment in terms of racism, but also to build the anti-racist movement against any attempts by the far right to grow in this country. So the two things are linked today. So, as people know, we have a fantastic tradition in Cardiff and in Wales, you know, in terms of offering sanctuaries to migrants and refugees. And it's absolutely appalling that Rishi Sunak's government, Suella Braverman, are continuing to push their agenda in terms of, you know, if people have seen it, stopping the boats from coming in. Actually, you know, as AJ said, what we want is we don't want refugees continuing to drown in the seas and so on. We want safe passage for refugees. So that is our demand. That is going to be the demand from all the demonstrations today. Moreover, we want to say to this government that the fact they've promised something like millions of pounds, 476 million to France to build detention centres for the migrants, actually no, that money should be used to create that safe passage for the refugees, as well as all the groups of workers who've been striking against the cost of living crisis. That money should be used to pay them as well. So why isn't that being done? So today's demonstration is linked to, you know, both of it really, standing up to racism and fighting the cost of living crisis, because we know that the scapegoating that continues from this Tory government, it is about dividing our communities. It is about deflecting attention from their policies, which is causing the cost of living crisis, and blaming the refugees and migrants. We cannot allow that to happen. We cannot allow this Tory government to divide our communities and to scapegoat refugees and migrants, to blame for their policies and play into people's fears. We have to be absolutely clear that we have to continue building the biggest anti-racist movement in Wales, and this is what this is part. You know, we are part of that really. So that is a message that has to go out from here. So our chant is always, say it loud, say it clear. So repeat. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. We are going to be chanting that as we start to march in a little while. The far right have taken advantage of the Tory government's agenda about, you know, the language, the inflammatory language, invaders, by calling their own protests outside hotels in this country where refugees are housed, and trying to harangue them, and, you know, some violent protest. And we cannot allow that to happen. There is one that's been called just down the road from here in Clanford Major, people may be aware, on the 25th of March by a Nazi organisation called Patriotic Alternative. So they are using this government's hostile environment and really the oxygen this government is supplying to them to try and you know, get into people's fears and try and grow. We cannot allow that to happen. We've got to make sure that they don't grow. So yeah, just to finish by saying really that I hope the march is going to be fantastic today, and it's really, really good turnout. And we hope that, you know, just to finish by saying really that we stand for unity, we stand for solidarity and hope, whereas, you know, they stand for racism. And, you know, we have to always remember that anti-racists are in a majority. We are in a majority. We have to call it out whenever it arises, just like Gary Lineker did recently in terms of this government's policy. And it was absolutely right to do that, because he was absolutely right to call Suella Braverman's inflammatory language out and comparing it to as he did, really. So yeah, I'll finish there and welcome the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, Nimi, thank you for that. And there's a clear message around not only about making sure refugees are respected, but make sure that they're not housed in shelters like the Second World War. We want none of that. There's millions and millions of houses that are vacant. Why aren't we using them? Yeah? Let's make sure that they're treated like equals, not like third-class citizens. Going on to the next speaker, John Actie, Justice for the Five. And this is the other thing we're demanding. Stop racism. Stop racism from the authorities that are supposed to be helping us. So over to John Actie.
Oh, hello, Cardiff. Hello, everyone. I come here today. I need your help to sort out a public inquiry for what happened to us 35 years ago. We've tried for a public inquiry many times, but they refused us. You know what happened to us? 5 black guys. They was looking for 1 white guy for the murder of Lynette White. You had 20 racist South Wales police officers locked us up for a crime they knew we never done. And we was all put on trial 2 times. Some was found guilty, some was found not guilty. And then I'm free. We just need your help to get a public inquiry. I'm not a speaker, but that's why I'm just here to ask you that. Please help us get this public inquiry. Thank you very much. Thank you more.
Okay, so I've been involved with the campaign from the get-go, but you've had 1 chance, and before I make the 2 points that I want to make, I want to teach you a new chance, all right? And it goes like this. I say accountability a must. You say no accountability, no trust. I say accountability a must. You say
accountability, no trust.
Okay, so after I make these 2 points, this is what you're going to shout if you agree with me. You hear me? Okay, so only 2 people admitted to being on the premises. Only 2 people admitted to taking part in the murder. They were never prosecuted or charged. In fact, this was a racist conspiracy by South Wales Police to frame 5 black guys from a local community. Now, I say accountability a must. You say
No accountability, no trust.
somebody has to be held accountable for the blatant conspiracy to manufacture false evidence and take innocent people to prison, ruining lives. I say accountability a must. You say
No accountability, no trust.
we did get a trial against the police, but the trial against the police unfortunately collapsed due to the fact that evidence that was absolutely pertinent to the trial went missing. Now, I want you to listen to this very carefully, because on the stand, under oath, an officer said they were told to shred the paperwork. So unfortunately, the trial was collapsed on a technicality. 7 days or so after the trial, this particular evidence came back from the dead, which means that the officer who stood in the stand under oath claiming that he had been asked or requested to shred the evidence had lied and committed perjury on the stand. Now that, to me, nullifies the failure of the first trial and justifies a new trial, not just a public inquiry, but a new trial on those very same officers that committed the conspiracy that had those men put in prison. I say accountability a must. You say
No accountability, no trust.
thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Shabana Tart, the General Secretary of the TUC. Solidarity and best wishes to everyone that's joined us today. As far as the campaign that's just been mentioned, Justice for the Cardiff 5, you can follow the campaign on Facebook, Justice for Cardiff 5. You can also find out more by watching Killing in Tiger Bay, listen to Shreds, and also read Making Murders. If anyone wants any more information, there's flyers up here, and you can find out more there. Right, we're going to keep this going, guys. We got loads of really good speakers. Our next speaker is Jane Hutt from the Labour Party.
Well, friends, I'm so proud to be with you today at the Resist Racism rally. And friends, we stand together to mark this year's United Nations Day for the elimination of racial discrimination. And we must remember where this started, where we remember those 69 peaceful protesters in Sharpeville. We will never forget them in their struggle for freedom. But as friends, as we march through the streets of Cardiff, our capital city of Wales, our nation of sanctuary, we will be shouting, we will be singing, we will be reaching out to all we pass in the street. And what we will be saying together, refugees are welcome here. Refugees are welcome here. Refugees are welcome here. And I know that people will join us. They will join us in that chant. They will support that message, which is deep in our blood in Wales as a nation of sanctuary, but also a nation of solidarity. Solidarity with our refugees. Wherever they come from in the world, they will be welcome here, as they always have been. And we're rightly proud of the work Wales has done over the years, over the centuries, support those fleeing war and persecution to seek sanctuary here in our country, with a welcome more recently to refugees fleeing Syria, Afghanistan and Ukraine. But friends, I have to say today, we will not rest here in Wales until we have delivered all the actions laid out in our Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan. Now, that is a plan that many of you helped to create with me as Minister for Social Justice and all my colleagues in the Welsh Government. And it is a plan where we say we will not rest until we rid Wales of racism, and we've said we'll do that by 2030. Just finally from me, today we are focusing on refugees and migrant rights, and I want to join you in condemning the UK government's atrocious plan in its illegal migration bill. We will fight it tooth and nail with your support. The asylum system is broken by this vindictive government. And just to say, many of the provisions in the bill will breach international conventions, violate basic principles of justice, and will place extreme and insurmountable conditions on people who seek our protection. So we call on the Home Secretary to develop those safe and legal routes to the UK, to our nation of sanctuary here in Wales. That's what's needed, that's the way forward, and we will lay out some plans to do this. Now, I just have to say finally that I've written to Robert Jenrick, the Minister for Immigration, and I just quote, it's a public letter, you can see it. The Welsh Government is striving to make Wales a true nation of sanctuary for those seeking asylum. And this bill, and the Nationality and Borders Bill Act before it, fundamentally undermines our ability to implement policies to achieve this. And we see this bill as raising similar issues to the Nationality and Borders Act, and the Senedd Cymru, and we have colleagues here from the Senedd, withheld consent to legislate for that bill, and we anticipate that a similar legislative consent motion may be needed in this instance. So I've said to the Minister, I urge you to reflect on my letter and the widespread warnings about incompatibility of this bill with our international and human rights obligations, which we embrace and support here in Wales. Withdraw the bill at the earliest opportunity. That must be our message today. Diolch yn fawr I gyd. Diolch yn fawr.
Jane. Next up we have Libby Nolan from Unison to say a few words. Vice President!
Thank you, I like to forget that. Anyway, solidarity to everyone here today. You look fantastic, loads of you. And one of the things the trade union movement does, and you've seen it, this government knows that we're strong when we're united together. And this kind of thing shows them. And it's happening in Glasgow and in London. And in the trade union movement, and every trade union should be here today showing that solidarity. The cost of living crisis is a crisis of the working class. And in that, we've seen the unity within that class that they're scared of. Those strikes that have been happening that have not left our tellies, have not left our social medias, won't go away, despite the poor pay awards that are being shown to us today. And I want to say, refugees and asylum seekers and any immigrant that comes here should not be blamed for that cost of living crisis. And we know as trade unionists that they are being blamed. And in that unity and solidarity with the refugee, with the immigrants, with those that have come here fleeing from war, from the horror of the climate change and from danger. We welcome them with open arms and with open doors and with our help. Now, as a white working class woman and as the first generation Irish immigrant coming to this country, we weren't welcome even though we were white, and we didn't suffer minute of what the black person coming into this country suffers. And this the year in unison of the black worker. We're putting our efforts together to join with the refugees and the asylum seekers. We stand up to racism, to move this forward and tell this government, to tell Braverman that she can stick herself on a boat and sail out of this country. Because everyone standing here today has more in common with those people coming here than we have with that Tory government. Now, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse in the NHS for 40 years, standing alongside refugees, immigrants, overseas workers, asylum seekers, and I know who my friends and comrades and colleagues are. Without them in the NHS, we would not have an NHS. Their passion and devotion and their skills that they bring from overseas are welcome here. I know in Wales, our NHS would collapse without them. And I stand beside them today. And I'm here because of the pride I have in the team I work in. I work in cardiothoracic surgery. You will not find a white person in cardiothoracic surgery. It's a hard job. They bring those skills from overseas and they have struggled with the same ideas that this Tory government says. We don't want you. We don't want you. But we're telling them today, we want you. So I offer you today solidarity to every single one of you here today, and we stand up to racism, and I'll see you on the march. Thank you very much, and solidarity.
It's great to see so much support from the trade union movement. But today is all about unity and solidarity, and it's about all of us standing shoulder to shoulder. And the one woman that does know a lot about standing shoulder to shoulder is Uzo Iwobi, who is going to be speaking next.
Hello everybody, we are here to stand together to resist the dehumanizing policies coming from the UK government against a country that has pledged to support vulnerable people. It is a shame that we stand today and watch so many people die at sea and be deported to Rwanda rather than be supported here. We stand here to say no to racial injustice in our society. We stand here to say no to what has happened to the Cardiff Five. We stand with our brother John Actie and call for justice for black lives that have been lost in Cardiff and all around the world. We protest about the continuous injustice of dehumanizing, humiliating, and embarrassing policies where refugees come and face hatred from far-right activists who target innocent citizens. We stand here in Wales where we have a vibrant and a phenomenal anti-racism Wales action plan. And we are delighted that we can deploy this plan to make a change, thanks to the minister here, for all peoples, black, Asian, minority, ethnic. So today, now is the time to hear your voices from the rooftops of Wales. Now is the time to join the march and demand for racial justice and equity. Now is the time to make sure that everybody who's fleeing persecution, war, difficulties, arriving here receives a warm welcome. Now is the time for your voices to rise. And so sing with me. No matter what goes on, refugees are welcome here. Let's say it together. Refugees are welcome here. And also I want us to say, Black Lives Matter, go! Black Lives Matter. Thank you, Cardiff. God bless you.
And strong messages that you're getting, speaker after speaker. Next, we've got Kabina Devonish from Cardiff. Cardiff Black Lives Matter.
thank you everyone for coming here today. I think it's really important that we understand that more than ever, we need to be radically anti-racist. We need to understand that racism is a systemic problem, not just an interpersonal problem. Racism is the rot from the top. It's the ideas of the ruling class, the sexist, the homophobic, the ableist, transphobic, racist ideas from the top that trickle down into the systems that we live in every single day. It shows up in the way the Home Office treats asylum seekers and refugees. It shows up in the language that the government uses to talk about asylum seekers and refugees. It also shows up in the mortality rates of black women during birth. It also shows up during, as we see in prevent programs and gang matrix that criminalise black and brown young men. Britain's refusal to meaningfully acknowledge its involvement in the slave traders' colonial past is not for lack of memory. It is because those people who they've colonized are still the people they exploit today. And those systems that they use to colonize those people are still upheld today in our society. To be radically anti-racist, we also need to understand the role of state violence. When your bike gets stolen and you ring up the police, that's the same police that killed Moeed Bashir. That is the same police that killed Mohammed Hassan. That is the same police that killed Leighton Jones. And that is the same police that continually harass and antagonize black and brown communities. The same police that harass and antagonize working class communities. That is the same system that we are continually invested in. And we need to learn to divest and remove ourselves from these carceral systems because they continually create harm for black and brown communities. This Zero Racism Wales plan by 2030 to get rid of racism. If the gang of armed rapists and murderers and sexists are still running around by 2030, I don't think we're going to get zero racism in Wales. I think ultimately the most important part of being radically anti-racist is action. And that's action 365 days a year. Not just today when we all come together, but every other day when there's attacks on refugees, when there's attacks on asylum seekers, when there's attacks on black communities. We need to continue to come together every day of the year. You need to join your local actions, join your local stand up to racism, create anti-rape networks. We need to create a support system that supports people throughout the year, not just today. Today's opportunity to come together to learn about these social justice cases. But it's also an opportunity for us to then go out and create that action, create that solidarity. Because at the end of the day, solidarity and unity is what we need to fight back against this government, to fight back against the bosses, and to fight back against the fascists. No to racism and no to fascism, and refugees will always be welcome here. Thank you.
Keeping it going, guys. Next up, we've got Beth Winter, another Labour Party member and representative who's going to be saying a few words. MP, somebody keeps saying MP. I'm like, trust me, she's quite easy with the labels, so she's more of a trade union activist than anything else. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you, Chav. Yeah, my name is Beth. I'm Member of Parliament for Cynon Valley, and I'm here today to express my solidarity with everyone and to express my absolutely appalled I am by this cruel, inhumane, rotten Tory government. Now, I was up in Parliament, I was in the chamber on Monday night when Braverman introduced the illegal migration bill, but let's call it what it is. It is an asylum ban bill. It is absolutely horrendous. The language that was used was inflammatory, racist, and it has to be called out. Shame on this Tory government, shame on them. Now there is an alternative, and the alternative is to provide safe passage for everyone who comes to our countries. The Tory government is not interested at all in the people smugglers, and it certainly is not interested in enabling people, some of the most vulnerable people in our fleeing violence, persecution and poverty. The Tory government is hell-bent on a culture war, and what it's trying to do is to divide us, to divide the dispossessed across our globe, and to divide them from people in our country who are suffering the cost of living crisis. The Tory agenda is about a distraction from the suffering and hardship being endured by far too many people in our own country, and we cannot allow this to happen. We must stand united. We must say enough is enough. We must shout that we are anti-racist, and we will not condone any form of discrimination, prejudice or racism. We will unite and we will hold this government to account. As I said, there is a clear alternative. PCS and K for Cardiff, if you haven't seen it, have produced an excellent report which outlines the process of allowing safe passage, clear the backlog, get rid of these horrific detention centres. There is an alternative. And I am so proud of our Welsh Government here in Wales, who work in cooperation with Plaid as well. So this isn't just about a Labour call, and I work alongside with other parties and people as well. We have to. Everybody should be anti-racism, and we must unite around that. But I want to end by quoting our First Minister of Wales last week when he spoke at the Welsh Labour conference. And what he said was about our values and principles here in Wales. And he said, we welcome refugees and people seeking asylum from wherever and however they reach our shores. We aspire to be a nation of sanctuary, and as Jane had said, I am sure the Welsh Government will withhold legislative consent. We hold dear in our hearts the values of care, compassion, kindness, generosity, trust and unity. And those are the values that I want my children and future generations to abide by. Let's stand united. Let's get rid of this Tory government, and let's say that we will not tolerate this racist agenda that is being propagated. Solidarity. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Diolch fawr.
Share with you all how it's affected me as a black woman. At every single juncture in my life since living in Wales, I've faced racism, whether that be in primary school, with microaggressions and learnt behaviour from pupils and my peers, in high school, overt racism from teachers, in my work life, being the token black girl and being misunderstood, and all of that really contributed to a massive amount of self-hate in me. So much self-hate and so much self-doubt that I actually was in a situation where there were many red flags to show me that my life was in danger, but I thought in my head I was just being anxious. I wasn't being anxious because hours later I got my head kicked in by two men in a racially aggravated assault. In that racially aggravated assault, the police turned up and I thought that they were there to help me. Instead, they conspired and they planned to set me up for this crime, basically. They hid evidence from the CPS, they refused me my rights, they interviewed me when I was not medically fit and able to be interviewed. They didn't allow me to have the right to properly defend and stand up for myself in court. They lied under oath. The jury disregarded every single piece of evidence that clearly shows that I was the victim and they were the aggressors, and I ended up being sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. I got out last year and the campaign is still going because I'm still not free from this conviction. I'm still not free from the clutches of this institutionally racist system. I have to report my movements, my actions to probation. I'm under watch. I am not free. Sorry. Sorry. Wales has made a pledge to be anti-racist by 2030. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here to tell you all, I'm here to tell the Senate, I'm here to tell local governments, that is not going to happen. I do not understand how you expect to be able to be anti-racist by 2030 when you have 4 high-profile cases that you refuse to challenge the police on to investigate. Christopher Professor, Mohammed Hassan, Moyed Bashir, and me. I'm the lucky one. I'm alive and here to talk to you and tell my story and fight for justice. But these 3 boys and men are not. And the Senate, the government, refuse to challenge the police on their actions when they show clear institutional racism, clear discrimination. They're murderers in 2 of these cases, and they're not being challenged on it. The police not being devolved to this nation is not an excuse. Not being able to challenge the police practices and procedures is not an excuse. You are allowing murderers to roam this street. You are allowing institutional racism to remain rife. These people are supposed to be here to protect us, but when I see a police car driving towards me on the street, I don't feel protected, I feel scared. I feel scared. And that's not right. But until people actually acknowledge that we need to go down to the fundamentals, we need to get down to the core of the institutions that discriminate against us, and we need to essentially abolish the police, because fuck the police! Fuck the police! They need to be abolished, and that is the only way that we can start to make progress. Someone said earlier on, when one of these amazing speakers was speaking, they said all lives matter. I want to ask a question. Do all lives matter when a police officer's knee is on a black man's neck? No, they don't matter. Does all lives matter when a judge sentences a disabled black woman to 4.5 years in prison for a crime she didn't commit? No, it doesn't matter. All lives matter, but all lives will not matter until black lives also matter. Thank you.
Campaign. I am now printing the receipts of how David Parish Police deliberately failed Sianda. Please support Sianda by signing the petition. There is over 571,000 signatures. We want to get it to 1 million. I am proving that David Parish Police deliberately hid evidence at the Sianda website and on Instagram. Also, I do want to touch about the anti-racist support. I congratulate Wales on creating it, but we are not a minoritised people. We are called ethnic minority people in that report. That does not stand well with me. Does that stand well with you people? We are a global majority. I have read the part of the report on criminal justice. And as Sianda said, if you would like the police to be devolved to this country, you need to hold them to account, not just on stop and search, on how they criminalise black people and when they're the victims. That needs to be held accountable, and they need to be held accountable. I'm here, standing here to say to you, especially to the black community, we are a majority. The reason why this is happening now because of the 2020 movement, we have a voice. Black people, black community, brown skin, brown community and the allies, you need to continue with your voice and continue with this movement and push Wales to hit that target. If they want to hit the target, keep raising your voice, keep pushing them to do their job, because we want equality and we want equity, and we do not want any more families like Sianda, like the Cardiff 5. We do not want any more of families suffering. So please support us and shout Black Lives Matter! 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 No justice! No peace! No Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And ignore the placard that just fell down. So anyway, what's been really good about today so far is in previous years we've often talked about these family justice campaigns, but today you're actually seeing the people who have been directly affected by these different situations speaking honestly and speaking from their hearts. Their message is really clear. There's so many people on the streets of Cardiff today, but these numbers need to grow. They need to grow in every city, in every town, in every village, in every community. We have to be really, really clear. When we say things like refugees are welcome here and Black Lives Matter, and the message on that placard there that says one planet, one race for humanity, we need to actually act on that. We can't just give more empty words, and we can't be bystanders. We can't allow for injustice to continue right in front of our eyes and not to be speaking out. You have to speak out, and if you're scared to speak out, talk to the person next to you about it, join your trade union, make sure that you're raising these issues within your workplaces. These are worker issues. Stand united and stand in solidarity at every single demonstration, but at every single opportunity that you ever get. And that leads me on nicely to Marianne Owens from the PCS.
Thanks, Shavannah. I'm Marianne Owens from the PCS union. I'm an NEC member, but I work here in Cardiff, and I think just looking at how many people here today, it's absolutely brilliant. Hopefully we're going to have a really good demonstration. I'm not sure how I followed the last speaker, actually, because that was brilliant. That just tells us exactly why we need to be standing up and being here today. Stand up and say no to that. But we know, don't we, that the root cause of that resurgence is the racist government, who, in an attempt to salvage their chances at the next general election, are trying to distract us from the economic mess that they have made by whipping up racism, distract us from the strikes, distract us from the working class fighting back by trying to divide us with racism. It's not people arriving in boats that are our enemy, it is the Tory government that are destroying our lives that is our enemy, and we must get that message out wherever we are. This is the government that had Theresa May telling us that we needed a hostile environment in the Home Office. Now, PCS members, civil servants, work in the Home Office, and they don't go to work to be hostile to people who are desperate, who are fleeing war and persecution and famine and the most desperate situations that any of us could ever think of. And I'm proud that within my union, it was our activists and our members that came to the NEC and said that they wanted to work with charities and anti-racist organisations to stop the government's disgraceful policies that they were trying to make our members implement. They do not want to. Our members have resisted having to push people back in the channel and kill people on boats by drowning them at sea. Our members have resisted deporting people to Rwanda, and I'm really proud that as we stand here today, not one boat has been pushed back and not one person has yet been put on a plane to Rwanda. And that isn't just because of our union, though. That is because of anti-racists everywhere. That's people standing up like we are doing today. And my union, PCS, have been at the forefront of those efforts to protect migrants and refugees. Earlier this year, we published, well actually November, we published our safe passage policy in partnership with Care for Calais and other unions to challenge them. And there's 3 demands that we've got in that policy, and you can read it online on the PCS website. Those 3 demands are important. We want a safe passage visa scheme. We do not want people who come here being told that they are illegal, because no human is illegal, and people need to be supported and helped if they are coming here to find asylum. We want better investment in the Home Office. Like the rest of the civil service, it has been decimated, it is understaffed. We want our members to be working in conditions where they can actually genuinely help people. And we want an end to the inhumane refugee detention centres like that at Manston. Hopefully you all saw the report in The Guardian about the disgraceful, treatment of people in those places. These people aren't criminals. These people are people that are coming here desperate from wars and famine to find a new life, and they should not be treated as criminals. And our members are not going to stand by and let that happen, and hopefully we can get somewhere. But let's remember this. What we've written in that policy isn't just words on a page. It's about people's lives. And over the last year, how many people have died in the Channel? 31 people on one boat, and that included children and pregnant women. When we look at what Suella Braverman has said in the last week, when you dig down into that policy that she's put up, they want to deport children, unaccompanied children, to Rwanda, and we will not stand for that. Now, we say, don't we, loud and clear, refugees are welcome here, and we're going to say that round the march today, but the other thing we need to do is make sure we're in Lantwick Major next Saturday to stand up for the fascists, because we need to push them back as well. So before I go, what are we saying? Say it loud, say it clear.
Refugees are welcome here.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Refugees are welcome here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Next up, I would like to invite Hilal Uddin from East to say a few words.
Afternoon, everyone. I've been told we haven't got much time because we need to make a move very soon, so I'm going to keep it short and brief. And I want to start by saying, so nice to see so many young people and children here. You make us proud. One of the reasons we are all here today and standing here to fighting for justice and the asylum seekers and humanity, so that you could have a better life than what we had. So we're doing this for you, and we hope one day you make it in the government and you make the change that needs to be made in Wales and UK and the world. Okay? So like I said, I'm going to keep it brief. It's our natural responsibility to look after humanity, regardless if they come by boat or plane. Regardless. If the government can bail out the bank, waste money, millions and trillions on COVID and all these hoax things, why can't we help the humanity? Of course we got the resources, of course we got the money, but we'd rather waste it on the rich. That's one thing we must stop doing, wasting it on the people that don't need wasted on. So I'm going to finish with, we are Wales, and we will always welcome refugees, asylum seekers and migrants. All right, guys?
Next up we have Jason Richards from the CW.
Right, comrades, brothers and sisters, I'm Jason Richards, Branch Secretary of the CW, South East Wales and Mal Branch, and Secretary of the Rhondda and Trades Council. I'm here today as a trade unionist, but more importantly, as a human being who believes in the fundamental right and dignity of all people, regardless of their race, ethnicity or religion. It is an honour to be here today with you all, united in our struggle against racism and bigotry. Our branch of the CW has a long and proud history of fighting for equality. We supported this event last year and we'll be supporting it again next year. We have come together today because we know that racism is not just an individual problem, it is a systematic issue that affects all aspects of our society. It is our workplaces, our schools, our justice system, and this despicable Tory government. A government that has left us all worse off and continuously peddles aggressive language towards immigrants to create divisions in our society and divert the blame from the Tory incompetence. This is a problem that can only be solved by collective action. As trade unionists, we know the power of collective action. We continue to fight for pay, workers' rights, better wages and safer working conditions by standing together and demanding change. And we must use the same collective power to fight against racism, to build a world where we all are truly valued and treated with dignity and respect and have the same opportunities regardless of their race or ethnicity. And as the old mantra says, unity is strength. Let's all stand together and get rid of this Tory government. Thank you everybody. Solidarity.
Tony?
Right, Morning, comrades. As I say, my name's Tony Mansell. I'm the branch secretary for the BFAW in my workplace. Bakers Food and Allied Workers Union. It's the largest independent trade union in the food industry in the UK and has been around for over 175 years. We may not be one of the big boys, but we're a campaign and a fighting union to promote diversity, equality and inclusivity at every juncture. At my workplace, which is the second largest private employer in Cardiff, we have such a diverse and multicultural workforce with around 70 different languages and dialects spoken. We have members from all corners of the globe, and I'm proud to say many of them I can call them friends as well as comrades and colleagues. The way we talk about immigration, increasingly right-wing Tory government and the right-wing mainstream media. This has empowered racists and led to a rise in hate crimes in the UK. We need to acknowledge that the UK has been enriched by immigration and emigration for centuries. While immigrants should not be reduced to financial value, it's undeniable that migration is an inextricable part of our past, present and future. At this point, can I just give a shout out to my good friend and comrade Robbie McCarthy and other members from the Bakers Union, Unite and UCU down in Cornwall, who last month stood in solidarity outside a hotel in Newquay that houses refugees. The so-called patriotic alternative attempted to protest and intimidate the refugees, but the union members outnumbered them by 2 to 1. And after a while, they soon crawled back under the stone from where they came. We need to change the narrative. Immigration must be depoliticised, and we must end the divide between the good and bad immigrant, who is and isn't allowed to stay. We must foster a better understanding of the long history of immigration and emigration to and from the UK. Politicians need to stop using language that demonises immigrants. In schools, children should be taught UK history in a way that contextualises the multicultural makeup of the UK today. The racist tide will only be driven back by anti-racists standing up and confronting it. We need to stand up and call out all forms of racism and inequality in our workplace and our communities. Together, we must show unity in the face of racism. Unity is our strength, so we cannot let racism divide us. No pass around and solidarity. Thank you.
Right, okay, our last speaker for whilst we're here is Kerith Griffiths from the FBU. He's taking his time getting up those stairs. It's all that, it's all those years of like fighting fire and saving lives, I think, is taking its toll. I've got some deep heat in my bag, brother.
It's not all those years, it's the short legs that I've got. Good afternoon, my show friend here. Good afternoon, friends, comrades. It's once again, it's an absolute privilege to be standing here to address you. And actually this year, I think last year, Shav called me Kurt Williams or something else I wasn't, so we're making progress. Yeah, look, I said it last year and I'll say it again this year, I feel a bit of a fraud standing up here. When you hear some of the experiences of people who speak from the heart, speak of what's happened to them, it's so moving, and it's for me to be able to stand here and stand shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Sianda, with John Actie, it's an absolute privilege. And like I say, I can't speak from personal experience to what these people have experienced, but I can't stand shoulder to shoulder with the Fire Brigades Union, or stand shoulder to shoulder with you. And I'll ask you all, as we go down through Bowtown, let's remember Yusuf Abdullahi, Ronnie Actie, Tony Paris, and all those who have been victims of crimes against their colour, against their background. Let's remember those people that have fallen victim to some of these crimes, because undoubtedly those lives were cut short by the actions of others. Comrades, there's not a lot I can say that hasn't already been said, but there is one individual I want to call out. And we've heard about the cruel and inhumane actions of the Tory government. But I want to call out Andrew R.T. Davis for the abhorrent language that he is continually using online. It's abhorrent, it is shame on him, it's abhorrent, it's divisive, and it's nothing but racist. If he's got an issue with people with boats, then he wants to look at the likes of Michelle Mone and all those who are buying yachts on the back of the British public because they're not paying their taxes. Those are the people he needs to be targeting, not the people that are being forced to jump into little boats because they've shut down all the legal routes to get into this country. Comrades, Like I say, it's an absolute privilege to stand here today. It'll be a privilege to march and walk with you. Come and say hello. Solidarity forever.
Right, okay, so that's the end of the speakers for now. What we need you to do is to face in that direction, and that is where we're going to be starting to march from. We're going to be chanting, so make sure that you've got some water down your throats and you're ready, because we don't want just the chanting coming from the front of the march.